welcome back to the channel, guys. As you can see behind me, we have some brake stuff and some new stuff done to the car. So let's get into the video. All right, here we go. We've got Textar discs and we've got Ferodo Racing brake pads, and I actually do have braided lines. So let's talk about the best upgrades that you can do on your M-Lite car, because currently the stock brakes these cars come with are good, but for fast road driving and track use, they're really not going to cut it. So let's get into the video. So a couple of days ago, I actually underwent doing the full brake system on my car. Brake fluid, braided lines, discs and pads, the whole set. I didn't record it because things didn't really go to plan, so we're going to skip the boring stuff. I'm going to be showing you guys the good stuff that's been added. So let's get into it. First off, I don't think you guys are ready to see this. This combination with the wheels looks so unbelievably good. Look at these. And you may be thinking, Ethan, the backs are still stock discs. What's going on? And that is because on most cars, the front does at least 80% of the braking, and the rear discs and pads had so much meat on them left, so much use, it would have just been silly to replace them. They are stock BMW discs, so they're two-piece originally, and the pads are Brembo. So the rears really didn't need doing. It was the front that really needed looking at for doing some high-spirited driving and also an occasional track use. So yeah, like I said, we actually opted for two. These are two-piece as well, which is a key factor because it really helps with cooling and everything. They are Textar J hook style brake discs. And as you can see, they do look absolutely phenomenal. They bolted on really easily. There were no issues at all. Now, regarding the brake pads, we actually opted for some seriously good ones here. These, I don't know if they actually show them on the actual box. However, I have got a picture which I'll put on the screen now of what they actually are. They are DS1.11s. Now, these are actually rated to be really good for track use. So we'll see how they fare in the next couple of months. So why am I doing all this? Well, in the UK, we have a track called Castle Combe, which I occasionally go on. So that's one of the tracks in the UK, and I'm also booked to go on the Nürburgring. So I'm actually going back there in the next couple of months. There'll be loads of videos on that. So if you want to see them, it'd be a good time to subscribe to the channel and also give this video a like if you enjoy it. So yeah, Nürburgring. Last year, brakes really weren't that good. So I thought this year when I go back, definitely gonna have to do something with them. So yeah, that's pretty much the discs and the pads talked about. Now let's talk about the braided lines and the brake fluid. So unfortunately, you can't actually see the braided lines. I mean, yeah, it's going to be pretty impossible to show you them on the wheel side of things unless I jack the car up. But the braided lines are all round, so the rear's got braided lines and the front. The whole car got treated the same with the braided lines, just not with the discs and pads. And the brake fluid, we actually opted for the Motul 660, which is actually a racing brake fluid. Not that you'll be able to see it, but in case any of you know, your brake fluid reservoir is just under here. So that all got changed. We flushed that out. I actually have a pump which you pump up to a certain PSI, and what that does, it makes it really easy to bleed the whole brake system all round. So the discs and pads were actually supplied by powerbrakes.co.uk. They are really good, so if you want to go check them out, I definitely recommend it. Literally ordered them and they were on my doorstep the next day. And the braided lines are actually from HEL or HEL Performance, however you want to pronounce it. So they're also really good. There's loads of different stainless steel braided line makes. However, I just went for the ones with the most reviews and the ones which were just kind of the easiest to buy. And the brake fluid, Motul pretty much sell that anywhere, so you can get that from Amazon. In my case, I got it from the same place I got the discs and the pads from. So I'll show you guys in the garage now. I'm going to show you the old stuff. This is actually one of the front discs, and you can see this still has plenty of meat on it. So my plan is with these, I'll tell you about that in a second. Here's the other box with all the other stuff, all the old lines, which I'm also keeping. Now, why am I keeping the old like OEM lines and also the front discs and the front pads? Well, basically, they still have loads of good life in them. They're not actually done. I'm not going to throw them away. The lines I'm keeping in case I put the car back to stock, or if I went to a 240, for example, I can transfer these braided lines straight over to that because it's the same chassis. However, the front pads and discs will be going back on the car in the winter time. So they'll be going back on in the winter time, and the reason is these discs and pads will only really be on the car for the summertime when the driving can be a bit more spirited. We're going to a few track days, you know, we're doing some endurance driving like the Nürburgring or all that kind of stuff. I don't really need these actual brakes to be run all year round. The ones in the garage are adequate, however they're not going to be good enough for track use, but driving around normally they're perfectly fine. So say throwing them away, they'll be going back on in the winter. But so far, really happy with it. This whole bleeding system of the brakes was really easy to do. The pressurized system was, you know, pretty self-explanatory. There's not really a lot you can do wrong. You just work from obviously the furthest one away from the reservoir to the closest one, pretty much like any brake system that you bleed. And yeah, really can't fault it so far. The only downside I would say is the pads. When you're going quite slowly and the pads are cold, they can be a little bit noisy. However, once they've warmed up, the bite on them is absolutely incredible. The bite feels so good, in fact, that if I brake hard enough, it feels like the car would dip so far down it would rip my front splitter off. The brakes on it are incredibly good. I've done almost 300 miles in them now, so I'm almost 100% certain that they've been bedded in correctly and the bedding in procedure has worked, you know, well. If we take a look at them, you know, there's no really like signs that I've done anything wrong. Everything looks as it should, so pretty happy with that. The only downside so far, but I can't actually criticize it yet because it's most likely the coating on the actual, you know, discs and the pads wearing off, is the brake dust has been pretty crazy so far. I actually thought, if you look at my alloys, they are actually bronze, but they kind of turned more into like a metallic silver, so I'm really hoping that isn't going to be the case permanently. But yeah, guys, really can't fault the Textar pads. They've actually been really good. But I think these upgrades are something which is 100% necessary if you're going to be fast road using your like M-Lite or tracking it. It's definitely something you're going to want to get done because the stock brakes are good. However, they're definitely not M performance in any way. Now, one little thing I think people miss out on, people are very quick to do pads and discs, but they also very quickly forget about the brake fluid. And brake fluid is something that nobody wants to do because it's not a nice job in any way, and it's not really a simple job you can just do at home. However, the brake fluid in this hadn't been changed in 40,000 miles, and it hadn't been changed since last year when I took it around the Nürburgring and I actually boiled the brake fluid. So it was really in need of a change, and the colour of it was absolutely disgusting. So one thing I would say is, if you're going to do brakes on your M-Lite, make sure you do the brake fluid as well, because that's one of the most slept on things with these cars. But in the comment section, I want to know what you guys are running on your, you know, M car or M-Lite, in my case an M-Lite. However, the F-Series M4 and M3 actually share the same calipers as the M-Lites, so just bigger discs really. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know if you think I've made a good choice with the discs and pads and braided lines that I went for. So far, really impressed with them. Obviously, I haven't really driven fast enough to really put them to the test of how good they can actually be, because it's been mainly just, you know, bedding in process and driving slowly and reasonably to make sure I don't warp them or do anything stupid. So far though, if you did enjoy the video, I'll put a couple sound clips on screen for viewers who are new because they might not know what this car sounds like, but I'll put it on screen now. Yeah, that's what the car sounds like, and it's going to be going to loads of track days. We've also got like such a cool trip with loads of different BMWs and M cars going to the Nürburgring, so definitely worth subscribing to the channel to see that. And let's hear what the car sounds like now. This is actually a little update for any of you viewers who are keen to the channel. You might notice the car isn't as loud as it currently is, and I'll show you that now. If I start it up and come to the back, listen to this. That doesn't sound as loud as she normally is, so let me know in the comments if you think I know what I've done. Sneak peek to the new steering wheel as well, but there's going to be a separate video on that. And that's what a very well maintained M235 engine looks like. If you keep on top of your maintenance, absolutely flawless. Could balance a pound coin on that. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. Leave any comments you have for me down below of what suggestions you've got for the car and everything like that, or any questions, and I'll answer them. And apart from that, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thank you very much for watching.